Hey everybody, welcome to Developmental Psychology. And I want to, before we begin, I want to say how weird it is to hear your own voice. Studies have shown that there is a reason because we hear it through our mouths and our trachea, but then when we hear a recording of it, it's like, oh my God, I sound like that. And I just went through the same thing hearing my own voice. Like, oh my God, I do not like the way I sound, but that is okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my take on developmental psychology. Hope you enjoy it. I hope that this is useful. So, this is important because some of y'all are interested in this. Some of you guys are interested in child psychology and how we change as we get older. But let me tell you, this isn't just about child psychology. This developmental psychology is our whole lives and how we are different from other people. You might have heard me, when I'm recruiting for psychology, you might have heard me ask, how come you guys don't go to the middle school to pick up boys or to pick up girls? And everybody goes, ew. Well, yeah, that's good because you instinctively know that you are in a different stage of development. And on the flip side, when you are, let's say, 19 years old and you're trying to date somebody in their late 20s, you know, that's something to consider because they are in a different stage of development. And then let's not even get into students having relations with teachers. Wow. I mean, that's just, I don't know, I want to say gross, but it is kind of gross, But the point is that if somebody is 20 years older than you and they were trying to date you, you need to think what's wrong with them. They're in a different stage of development. And to know that these stages of development can be useful to you and you can save yourself some heartache. It's not just dating, but it's other things as well. Your parents are pretty soon they'll be as old as I am if they are not as old as I am. You're middle age, and then how that differs from elderly. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk about prenatal development. This is an interesting picture, and it's a sperm fertilizing an egg. And one thing that I found out that is a myth, we always hear the myth that it only takes one. Well, that's not actually true. I learned that it actually takes several sperm to treat the coat of the ovum, that's the egg, before one sperm can fertilize it. So, but that's just a nitpicky detail that I know that I thought was interesting. But yeah, it's this if you're trying to not get pregnant, this picture is exactly what you're trying to avoid. So, let me ask you this. When the sperm fertilizes the egg, what do you get? You get a zygote. A zygote is a fertilized egg. You may remember the term monozygotal twins and dizygotal twins. There's that word zygote. Zygotes are fertilized eggs. Zygotes don't last long. Um, they only last a couple of weeks, and then the zygote becomes, drum roll, boom. You get what looks like breakfast to me, and that is an embryo. Okay. The embryonic stage lasts about 6 weeks, and this is when you get the heart begins to develop. Um, it's debatable whether you want to call this a baby or not, but whatever this is, it's got a heart. You can see like a little bit of spine. Um, and and here's another picture of a zygote. Now that looks like some kind of alien baby, but or fish bait. But that is an embryo human. So I found some real interesting pictures of like different animals inside the womb that were pretty good too. If you Google elephant embryo, elephant fetus, and you get some interesting stuff on Google there. Now, before we get on to the next stage, I want you to know that the embryonic stage is the worst time to do anything like drink alcohol, take antidepressant medications, take over the counter medications. This is when you really need to be strict. Okay. Honestly, we don't know exactly the effects of what drugs do to babies and cigarettes and all that. But I will tell you this: during the embryonic stage, the first couple of months, that's when you want to just be extra careful, and you don't want to drink alcohol, you don't want to take antidepressants or anti-anxiety. You want to be careful with that. Of course, doctors will tell you different things. If you are a heavy smoker, which I hope you're not, but if you are a heavy smoker, a doctor may tell you just keep smoking because the withdrawals that you get are worse for the baby than the nicotine addiction. So again, this is all debatable, okay? But if you can help it, you don't want to drink any alcohol during the embryonic stage, and you don't want to do any kind of illegal or illegal drugs during this stage. You want to be extra healthy during the stage. Of course, you don't want to be paranoid, but you just be extra careful during this stage. And then after 9 weeks, which is, not that long, 2 months, 9 weeks, you get the next stage, which is the fetus. So now this is kind of disturbing, but this is the brain at 22 weeks. So this is a fetal brain. You notice it doesn't have the wrinkles, and it's that's pretty disturbing to look at. Okay. So about the 6 month, you get the stomach and other organs. And at this stage, babies can hear. And I remember, um, my daughter, the first time she ever kicked was at a jazz concert. And boy, she just kicked the crap out of my wife. And boom, boom, boom. It was a great moment. My wife really liked being pregnant. They can see. So if you take a flashlight at the woman's belly, then the baby will sometimes kick at the flashlight. So that's what's fun about being pregnant or having someone pregnant in the house. Okay. So this is what I have students write down. So this is prenatal development, and here's a word, teratogen, and that is a fancy word for drugs or diseases that affect the unborn child. Teratogens can include legal drugs, illegal drugs, diseases, including venereal diseases. This is fetal alcohol syndrome. And, this is where, you get a little interesting debate. Yes, this little boy's mother was probably a severe alcoholic. I mean, like bottles and bottles of whiskey and tequila every day. And because of this, a lot of people like, oh my God, no alcohol ever. I don't want to tell you what to do, but the point is that people in Germany, people in Italy, they drink alcohol. Now they're not sitting around being total alcoholics, but they might have a half a glass of wine when they're 8 months pregnant, 9 months pregnant, and it's not a big deal. Of course, you do what you want. It's your life, it's your baby, but people in Italy and Germany, they're not so afraid to have a half a beer or half a glass of wine if you are 7, 8, or 9 months pregnant. It's just not a big deal. You're not going to get fetal alcohol syndrome by having one beer or one glass of wine. Okay, some doctors recommend it, but if you're a real alcoholic, I mean, mega drinking bottles and bottles of whiskey every day, then yeah, this could happen to you. So you want to learn more, go ahead. Okay, I'm just saying that there is a debate over how much alcohol is good. Some doctors say zero is good. Okay. Now these I do have students write this down. There are some reflexes. Once the baby is born, you should see certain reflexes. This is called a rooting reflex. Basically, what it means is that if you are breastfeeding and you take the nipple and you brush the nipple along the side of the cheek, the baby will find the nipple. This is called a rooting reflex. Okay. And the Babinski reflex, I honestly don't understand it. I'm not a pediatrician, but if you do this to your boyfriend or your girlfriend next time they're barefoot around you, see if this works. Rub the side of their feet and the toes will spread. My wife does this to me all the time, and whatever. But it's called the Babinski reflex. I have seen this on the AP exam. Okay, so I propose that on these videos, we'll look at the question, and then if you want to hit pause, like hit the space bar and hit pause for you to think about it, that's fine. But as far as the video goes, we'll just rush through it. This one is the placenta. That's D. All right, so the embryonic stage of prenatal development refers to, okay, this is a nitpicky question. This is not an AP question, but the answer is C. D, what is D? That's fetal. D is fetal. Maria is concerned about taking allergy meds while pregnant. She should be most concerned if her pregnancy is at the embryonic stage. Embryonic stage. Okay. The third stage of prenatal development lasts from 2 months till the end. That is the fetal stage. Remember to pause it. Hit the space bar and pause the video if you want to think about it. Okay. All right, so here's an AP question. When a newborn infant is touched on the cheek, the infant will turn its head toward the source of the stimulation. The behavior is known as A, rooting reflex. Rooting reflex. Alexandra wants to test her new baby's Babinski reflex. So the answer is E, stroke the sole of the baby's foot. If you said A, that's rooting reflex. Okay. All right. Child was born with widely spaced eyes, thin upper lip, short, flat nose. That is describing fetal alcohol syndrome, so the answer is D. Okay, maturation. I know how it is. We always say, dude, you're so immature. That's not how we really use maturation in developmental psychology. In developmental psychology, this is a physical thing. So, a baby will start rolling around on their tummies, they'll start crawling, then they'll start walking and then running. That's maturation. Maturation in developmental psychology is physical. We don't mean by emotional in this case. Okay. So this is the only time I've ever seen it on the AP exam. Keisha was able to roll over at 2 months, crawl at 5, and walk at 10 months. That is C. Okay. All right, and that's all I've got on maturation. All right, now let's talk about attachment. By the way, that's my wife and my daughter at the Dallas Zoo. You can tell that we were looking at the, oh my God, I can't even think of those pink birds, the ones that are all over Florida. Flamingos, that's it. Attachment, I haven't seen it on a test, but I find it very interesting. Imagine, so how do you attach to your child? You need to hold your child. You need to touch your child. You need to talk to your child. If for some reason you don't want to do that, you need to fake it till you make it, and you need to make it so. If you still can't do it, get someone else to do it. Get your husband, get your wife, get grandma, grandpa. Somebody needs to hold that baby. Okay? You don't want to mess with that. So this is exactly what I just said. By the way, this is how you don't hold a baby. Okay? And notice the fake smile. You may recognize the actress. She is in a movie that I recommend called We Need to Talk About Kevin. And right now it's on Amazon Prime. Okay? It's a good movie. So you need to talk to your baby. You need to interact with your baby. This is an extreme case. On the left is a, now think about this. What kind of scan do you think this is, this kind of brain scan? It's probably an MRI. It could be just an old X-ray, but it's probably an MRI. And if you talk about extreme neglect, like we're talking like Romanian orphans, people who weren't held or talked to for years, then you're going to have smaller brains and lower IQs and all that stuff on the right. So this is Harry Harlow. And I think the videos that explain it better than I can, but Harry Harlow did something kind of mean. What he did was he set up an experiment. You, you've got a wire mesh mother. First of all, what is he trying to prove? He's trying to show there was this idea that animals will attach to whatever feeds it. You know those kind of people. Oh, that dog doesn't love you. It just likes you because you feed it. Well, so Harry Harlow did an experiment. He deprived a baby monkey from a mother. Now that's totally mean and unethical, but he did that. And he put the wire mother in with a bottle and then the soft mother without the bottle to see which mother would the baby attach to. And while the baby went to the wire mesh mother to eat, the baby did attach to the soft mother. The key term is contact comfort. Contact comfort. So touch is important. Food is important, but touch is very important for babies, monkeys, and humans. Okay. So definitely watch the video. I've given it to you somehow, but to learn more about Harry Harlow's unethical experiments. All right, so Harry Harlow's experiment with rhesus monkeys suggests which of the following is most important for infants when establishing an attachment to their mothers. Hit pause. The answer is D. Okay, tactile, touch. Touch. The results of Harry Harlow's experiments with infant monkeys and surrogate mothers show that, hit pause, and the answer is A. The answer is A, contact comfort. Okay, so moving right along. Critical period. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a time when something has to happen. Okay, I mean, look at the word critical. Time period. Okay, it has to happen now, during this time, or it may not happen. For example, imagine, this is a horrible thing to think about, but imagine you're 6 months old and you get in a really bad car accident and your legs are in a cast, both of them, and you can't learn to walk for, let's just say, 2 years. Okay, I know this is horrible to think about. Well, so let's say you're a year and a half and now you need to learn how to walk. You should have already learned how to walk. You think it's going to be easy? Probably not. Okay, because your critical period for learning how to walk is past. And so now it's going to be really hard to learn how to walk when you're 1.5 trying to learn to walk for the first time because you were in a bad car accident. Same thing with language acquisition. If you don't learn to talk and you don't learn to speak because you're deaf or you're something wrong with your mouth or something like that, and then you try to learn to talk at 6 years old or something, it's not going to turn out the same way. Think about deaf people who are born deaf and they get a cochlear implant, or even without a cochlear implant, and they're trying to learn to talk. It doesn't sound right. I mean, they manage, but it's not the same because there is a critical period for language acquisition and learning how to talk and learning language. So if you're deaf and you don't learn language at the right time, you could do it, but it's not going to be the same. And same thing with attachment. Imagine you're in the worst situation. You're a little baby. You're 6 months old and nobody will touch you. You're like an orphan, like in Romania or something. That's going to affect you for the rest of your life. That's what we call reactive attachment syndrome. In the movie Good Will Hunting, which I do recommend, it's on. I don't know, but I'll recommend it somehow. But Good Will Hunting is a movie of an orphan where Will was an orphan and he has some signs of reactive attachment syndrome. Anyway, it's a real thing, and these people, even as adults, they don't they don't have normal relations. Imagine you're trying to date somebody with reactive attachment syndrome and you want to give them a hug and they say, I don't want your hug. I don't want your love. That's reactive attachment syndrome because they did not attach during this critical period of attachment. Okay. Now, here's a guy named Konrad Lorenz, and he studied imprinting. And imprinting is when, like when geese will hatch out of an egg and they imprint. It's kind of like attachment. They start following anything around because they think it's the mother. So here's Conrad and the guy without the shirt on, and these goslings, baby geese, keep following him around everywhere to the point where he was even flying with them on the left side. And so these goslings, they hatch and they imprint on their mother usually, but in this case, a human. This happened with a dog. I mean, check it out. These babies are following this dog around because they imprinted on the dog. So my point is that imprinting is another example of critical period. If it doesn't happen now, it's not going to happen. Okay. So critical period is a phase during hip pause. The answer is D. Okay. AP question. Konrad Lorenz found that shortly after a gosling is born, it tends to follow the first large moving object it sees. This is an example of, the answer is A. Okay. The fact that imprinting is most certain to occur if the opportunity for imprinting is presented to the organism at a very specific age indicates the existence of, the answer is D. Okay. Oh, Charles was a boy who endured abusive and neglectful conditions and was deprived of language exposure until he was rescued at age 13. Despite remediation, Charles was unable to learn to speak fluently. Historically, this case study was used to demonstrate the effects of, and the answer is B, critical periods. Okay. Okay, I don't have a lot to say on this, but I will tell you, you saw this with humans, but if you put a rat in a very boring cage like this one, then the rat's not going to have complicated neural connections. But if you give the rats company and toys and stuff, they're going to have more neural connections. Okay, that's true with humans too. Okay, now let's talk about Mary Ainsworth and her strange situation studies. This is what I have you write down. What she did is she's studying attachment styles. Now, I will tell you that right now there is a trend in psychotherapy where your counselor will ask you about how your mama raised you, which has been normal, but there are entire books on how your attachment style with your parents does affect your current adult relationship. So if my mom was neglectful, then that's going to affect my relationship with my wife, for example. But if you have a secure attachment with your parent, then as an adult, you will have a much better relationship. I don't want to get into details. Honestly, I don't know them, but I can imagine. So secure is the best attachment style and the most common. Avoidant, it's not neglectful, but basically this is what happened. Watch the video that I've given you somewhere else. What she does is she has this scenario where the mom and the baby are, this is the mom and this is the baby. And the baby's just playing around, exploring. Mom gets up and leaves. She wants to know, how does the baby react? Well, basically, this is strange, but this is the way it is. If the baby cries, that's good. That means that the baby is securely attached to the mother. Okay? But the baby is cool or now also, this is also extra important. What happens when the mom returns? You'll see this in the video, but when the mom returns, the reunion, how does the baby react? Does the baby come to mama? Or does the baby like, whatever? That's going to measure the attachment style. Okay? So definitely watch the video. I don't know if I'm explaining it too well, but go ahead and watch the video on that. Okay? So Mary Ainsworth's strange situation paradigm is typically used to test young children's, and the answer is D, attachment. All right, so Tyrone happily played with his colorful blocks while his mother was nearby. Don't try to answer these questions until you watch the video, though. Okay. When his mother returned, he greeted her happily. This is a secure attachment style. Honestly, on the AP exam, I've never seen anything but secure attachment. Okay. So Mary Ainsworth research indicates that a toddler with a secure attachment style is most likely to do which of the following when left with a caregiver for the first time. Okay, hit pause. The answer is A. I had trouble with this question, but the answer is A. Okay. Developmental research on the formation of attachment indicates that a child's secure attachment to its mother during infancy is predictive of which of the following. So, on a question like this, ask yourself this: are we looking for something good or are we looking for something bad? Look for something good. The answer is C. The answer is C. Okay. So, same question as earlier, basically, have a tantrum when the mom leaves. Okay. And, all right, so let's talk about parenting styles. Okay. So, do your parents just let you do whatever and don't give you any kind of consequences for anything? That's permissive parenting. And you're thinking, wow, that's cool, but there's a problem with permissive parenting because it's like having a participation trophy for a parent. You know, they love you. You know, it's like no matter what, if it's almost like unconditional love, but to the extreme. It's like whatever, it's all good, and then you can never feel proud. Think of those singing shows like American Idol. You know, we want Simon's approval. We don't care what everyone else thinks. We want Simon's approval because he's harder to get. So we don't, permissive parenting is not good for our self confidence. Authoritarian. Now, what the reason I underlined the A's is because I want you to count the A's. 1, 2, 3. 3 A's. These are the drill sergeant parents. Dad, why do I got to be home at 10? Because I said so. That's authoritarian. Now, authoritarian looks a lot like authoritative, but count the A's. 1, 2. There's only 2 A's. So, what is a letter that begins with A that describes authoritarian parenting? Asshole parenting. Okay. Authoritative, that's the ideal parenting. Authoritarian is not good for self confidence. It's not good for social competence, but authoritative is ideal. By the way, this is my daughter, Lauren. So, again, same thing. Permissive parents, they let their kids do whatever, no punishment. Authoritarian parents, this is, we always make fun of Asian parents, the tiger moms, for being like this. It's authoritarian. Or your drill sergeant parent, your, you know. And then authoritative parents. This is an ideal combination. Not so, Dad, why do I got to be home at 10? Because I worry about you, and because things are dangerous, and 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 I don't want you out that late, and there's no reason to be. Okay, so they give you an explanation as to why instead of saying because I told you so. That's ideal. Okay, I didn't watch this whole video, but you might want to watch it. It's on parenting styles. So, which parenting style is characterized by high demands for obedience and low warmth? Demands for obedience. Count the A's. The answer is B. The answer is B. Psychologists characterize parents who consistently demand their children's compliance without discussion. Count the A's. The answer is E. Okay. The most well-adjusted and socially competent children tend to come from homes where parents employ which of the following parental styles? Okay, so which is the good one? Count the A's. The answer is C, authoritative. All right, same question as earlier. Okay, so Mark's father dictated who Mark's friends should be and what classes he should take. He's a drill sergeant parent. So count the A's. The answer is D, authoritarian. Okay, and we're almost done here. Temperament. Understand this and watch the film. Okay, temperament is nature, not nurture. Well, let me tell you something. When you have kids of your own, you don't know what you're going to get. If you have a really good kid, consider yourself lucky, but it's not to your credit. You didn't do anything necessarily. If your baby is predictable and not real fussy, you just got lucky. You didn't do anything right. And if your baby is not nice and your baby is very difficult, it may not be your fault. That's temperament. Think of it as personality. Think of it as something that the baby is born with. Okay? So you got easy children, difficult children, slow to warm up children. Read this and just pray for the best. Okay? But that's called temperament. You cannot control that. Okay? So our daughter was very easy, and me and my wife, we want to take credit for it, but honestly, I think we just got lucky. Okay. Sometimes you'll have a kid and your first kid is great, and then your second kid, like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? So sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it's just nature, not nurture. Okay. So Lewis is normally very restless and fidgety, whereas Shelley is usually quiet and easygoing. The two children apparently differ in, the answer is D, temperament. Which of the following describes the different emotional dispositions of infants? Disposition means that you're born with it. That's nature. And the answer is temperament. Temperament. Same thing here. Which of the following reflects the inborn stable rudiments of personality, such as excitability, and that is temperament. Like some babies, you could take them with you, they won't cry, and they're just easygoing babies. Other babies, you just got to leave them with mom or something because they just cry everywhere they go. And it's not necessarily your fault, it's just temperament. Nature is to nurture as blank is to blank. The answer is D, temperament, responsive parenting. Okay. And that is it. I hope that this was helpful. And let me know if there's anything else I can do for you. Thanks. Bye.